So let's look at this with some smaller yarn. Here I have my chain, and now I'm going to try to stitch into the top of the chain, which, like I said, this is the hardest one to do. So I always use my fingernails to bring the first side of the chain over, and then the next side of the chain. And then here is my hump in the back. And I'm just going to do a couple of stitches here to show you. And always make sure you're stitching into the V's, and your chain might get turned around, but as long as you look for the V's, you'll be okay. So there's my V's on the hook, and here's my hump in the back. So I'm just going to do a couple of rows here. There's the next stitch. And this will make a lot more sense once you know the stitches. So after we talk about where to put the hook and you learn the first crochet stitch, then you'll be able to watch both videos at the same time and then get an understanding of, you know, what it looks like. So here we've done a few stitches in the top of the chain. So this is what it looks like. So you can see the V's again from the stitches I made, so that's the top. And then here's the humps of the bottom of the chain. So this is what it looks like on the side. And I'll do a couple of different, I'll do all three at the end of this video. So I have another chain, and this time we're going to work in the side of the chain. So I'm going into the first V and the hump in the back, and then I'm doing my stitch. Oops, dropped my yarn. First V, the hump in the back, and then I'm doing my stitch. So we're going to go into the next one. Essentially now, this side of the V is our bottom. And this side of the V and our hump is the top part of the stitch. So you can see here, it's a lot easier to see the holes where you're going to stitch into. See, I'm going to stitch into this hole right here. So down through those two. And I make my stitch. See, you can see the holes now. So now I'm just going to do a few more stitches on this one. So under the V and under the hump. And then I make my stitch. So under the V and under the hump. And I make my stitch. So now, this is the bottom. It still looks like the last one we did, and we'll compare here in a little bit. So I'm going to finish making a little swatch from this one, and then I'll do the next one. So on this chain, we're going to crochet into the humps in the back. So we'll just go under the hump. This one might be a good place to start, just so you can kind of get used to crocheting into a chain. Start under the hump because there's only one stitch for you to have to worry about. See, this is definitely the easiest one for me because I can crochet into it a lot faster than the other ones. But you know, there's always good reasons to use one method over the other. That's why you should know all three. And sometimes pattern designers will specify. They usually don't specify to crochet into the side because that's kind of like crocheting into the top. But some do specify to crochet into the back of the chain. So, and if they don't specify, just do whatever. So I've crocheted into the back of this whole one. So now you can kind of see that our sides are identical. This side has V's and this side has V's. And remember, this side is the chain and this side is the top of our stitch. So that kind of gives you a clue as to what's to come. The top of every stitch is a V, which comes in really handy. So if you're stitching into the back of the chain, it's really great that you can have this nice edge on it that looks like the other edge, because whenever you build a piece up, both sides are the same. Let me finish this one and I'll show you all three together. Here are all three swatches that I made. This one being we crocheted into the top of the chain. So you can see the humps from the back of the chain, and then the top has the V's from the stitches that we made. And then this is the one that we did in the side of the chain. And really the only differences in the bottom are that these kind of go from back to front because it's the V, so back to front. And these are all side, side, side. So I mean really that's the only difference between these bottom loops. I mean you can't really tell the difference. You can kind of tell the difference, but I don't think it matters. Someone might disagree with me, but yeah, I think they look the same pretty much. And then the tops look the same because we didn't do anything different there. But there's only a slight difference between the two here. And then this is the one that we crocheted into the back of the chain. So it looks really different from all the other two, because it has a nice finished edge to it, where these just have the bumps. And then all of the tops look the same. So those just show you the three differences between this way you can stitch into the chain.